Hello and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News Channel. This is the TAMA and chart analysis for March 29th, getting to the end of March 2022. And yes, people, we're a little bit down from yesterday, but we on some good news, we did actually dip to about 46,400, but we suddenly recovered to about 47,300. So there is some buying power. But as we see, the volume is still very, very low, so it's quite tenuous. We still haven't recovered to the high of about 48,000 that we actually reached early yesterday, as you can see on this particular graph. We actually reached, around 48,200, so we're still 1,000 below that. But as you can see, we did actually cover from this with this green wick. However, we're still kind of far away from where we were about a day and a half ago, and that's really where we want to be at. Now, if you actually look at the further graph, I mean, there's a couple of these pumps in store, and each one of these is actually a leg up. This was the most severe one. So I'm actually looking for the next one. As you can see, every time we pumped up, before we went up next time, we actually did come down, then go up a little bit again, and then up, up, up. So we're kind of like conforming to that pattern right now. I hope the next up will take us above 50,000, but for that, because there's actually not that much volume right now in retail, I think we will depend on Terra Luna buying again, or maybe MicroStrategy buying. Because MicroStrategy just got a loan for $205 million that they're going to buy Bitcoin with. So Terra Luna won't be the only one pumping. Maybe there'll be another pumping player. Now, I'm pretty sure they're going to buy at OTC, but that will still help prices in the long run because that just dries up OTC, especially if you buy a lot of OTC at once. OTC purchase price is generally slightly below the current market purchase price because when you buy in bulk, you generally get a discount. If people would rather sell in bulk to avoid slippage, but in order to do that, they really need to give you incentive, and that's why they give a slightly lower price. However, if OTC starts drying up, the OTC price starts going up, and that will actually affect the retail price as well. So it could kind of look like we've had like a little bit of a crest because we haven't gone up basically since the 27th of March, maybe about 2 days ago. But there could be another leg up coming. We could also fall to the 44,000 level again. If we fall to the 44,000 level again, we might be in a cascade back down. So keep your eyes very much peeled for that. Either way, on the 1 month graph, we're definitely trending upward because of Terra Luna's buys. On the 3 month graph, we're pretty much even. Like originally on the 3 month graph, we were actually going downwards, but now it kind of looks like almost like a U, well, kind of like the crooked ass cheeks formation, because the second ass cheek has actually formed. It's kind of crooked with a few dents, but it actually has formed because of the recent pump. I mean, recently we basically went up from 38,000 to 47,000, almost a $10,000 increase, and that's actually pretty much brought us up in line with where we started about 3 months ago in January before we started dipping. I think people are getting used to the idea of the war, and Russia's basically scaled back operations. Oil basically has leveled off, so there isn't really any other big events that I could definitely see bring the market down. So I kind of hope it stabilizes out at this particular level. It might pump again in April and May, definitely, because of Terra Luna buying and MicroStrategy and all that stuff. But without the retail volume, it's going to be hard to sustain. As you can see, volume is still very, very small. It did not just take a giant jump. If you actually look at the 6 month chart, you can easily see that volume really hasn't gone up. This is just basic volume, but there's a couple of really big buys by big players, and that becomes way, way more obvious in the 1 year where you have this big volume basically here this time last year, and you don't really have any volume here right now. So right now, we got to keep a look at this volume graph. If the volume graph starts going up, that could actually signal some really good things. But right now, we're still very, very low volume. So big players can actually buy some Bitcoin and really affect the market. But I do think this pump can keep going at least into the mid 50,000s if Terra Luna continues buying and if MicroStrategy joins the buying spree. So now we got two pumpers instead of one. If you actually look at the technical numbers, you will see that all the moving averages say buy. But I kind of say buy as well because I think Do Kwon and Terra Luna are going to keep buying. Not really because of the numbers. I mean, the 50 EMA is still well below the 200 EMA, so we haven't formed that golden cross yet. We're about 2,500 points away. And I think for the 50 to pass the 200, we have to stay at 47,000 for another 2 weeks or so, maybe a week or two. And then basically or go up even more because recency bias will always favor the 50 EMA over the 200. So on the daily, I would say it's a buy, but it is dependent on what Terra Luna does. I think they're going to keep buying, so I would actually say it's a buy. In terms of the oscillators, they're pretty much neutral. The commodity channel index is way overbought right now, and the stochastic to me is actually overbought as well. But and the RSI is pretty close to overbought. The momentum and the MACD both favor buy. But the thing is, right now, like these indicators, we might go for a slight dip. But if Terra Luna starts buying again, that basically gets all erased, and basically we're going back up. So when you have one or two whales that are affecting the entire market, the indicators are kind of like the daily indicators are kind of more or less irrelevant right now. And the volume is really what matters to see if we get a full-on FOMO. On the 1 week graph, everything is a buy besides the 30 SMA. Once again, it is dependent on Terra Luna. Like the volume just isn't there to sustain like a retail rally right now. Maybe once we get past 50, 55,000, retail will actually start coming in. But right now, it's basically one or two whales like buying it up. Hopefully they can buy it up enough where retail FOMO can actually come in. The momentum and MACD are both buys because of that, but the rest of the oscillators on the weekly are pretty neutral. So I would still say it is a buy right now, just because I do think Terra Luna is going to keep pumping and MicroStrategy is actually going to join them. It doesn't really matter all that much whether they buy on spot or OTC, because if they drive the OTC market up and people still on Bitcoin, they'll have to buy it up as well. On the monthly, it is pretty much all buy because we finally got past the 10 EMA and the 10 SMA. But once again, it is dependent on Terra Luna, and all the oscillators are pretty much neutral right now. So really, realistically, like looking at whale watchers right now and tracking Terra's wallet address is going to be more important, is really going to be more important than watching indicators right now. I think like over the long run, if we can get past 50K and get close to 60K, I think that volume will actually return from retail FOMO. And at that time, we can definitely see the crypto market burst through a new high. So I'm looking at maybe like April, May, hopefully for a real pump. But if it gets to 75K and then like it starts dropping, you probably should sell, because if Terra Luna like runs out of money to buy and they already have 10 billion Bitcoins, they're not buying anymore, it could actually dump very, very quickly without that impetus. There is more adoption going on worldwide, but the worldwide situation right now with the war and everything is still very much uncertain. Inflation is still racking the entire world, especially the United States. And until we get some resolution on that, people are going to be kind of weary in buying risk assets. However, that does not mean they will not FOMO if an asset is rising like crazy. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think, like, subscribe, and hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.